Farm Small, Farm Smart Daily is part of the Modern Grower Podcast Network. Check out some of our other shows like Carrot Cash Flow, the Growing Microgreens Podcast, and Farm Small, Farm Smart. Learn more about the shows using the link below. Putting it all together, if you want to ruin a prairie, start fertilizing it. Those plants don't need the fungal relationship as much because, hey, it's like you're just giving me this stuff. I don't have to work as hard for it. Why form a trade when you're just giving it to me? The fungi die off. And then when that fertilization goes away, those plants that are there can no longer survive without that relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And they're very dispersal limited, being subterranean organisms. They can move on worms and voles and a little bit in the wind, but they're not something like a dandelion seed that's going to float around and colonize the next door neighbor's prairie, for example. And yeah, once they're really disturbed, it's a major problem.
How much tillage is too much when we look at disturbing these communities? I'm thinking agriculture here.
Yeah. Tilling is hot debate, I should say. Many people still do it, and many people are adamantly against it for many reasons. I think it's becoming more and more popular around here, at least, to do no-till agriculture. And I live in row crop agricultural heartland here in Kansas, and where I'm from in Indiana. So it's encouraging to see less tillage going on, but that often is accompanied with more spraying of chemicals like glyphosate. So that's the downside to that. But in terms of how it affects fungal communities, it really depends on the timing of the tillage. So the fungi have this natural cycle where they are fed by plants, and when they're being fed by plants, they're often in their hyphal form, exploring the soil, getting in all those pockets and finding all that phosphorus. When at the end of the season, when the plant begins to senesce naturally or die in the case of annual row crops, that sends a signal to the fungi, hey, they're not feeding us anymore. We need to prepare. So they'll go into their spore form. And the spore form is more resistant to things such as tillage. So if you till in the winter when the fungi are out of their hyphal form and in their reproductive state, their spores, they are more likely to be able to survive the next year. First is if you are going to till when the fungi are actively growing, some of these species don't reproduce very well from the hyphal chunks that are tilled up. And so those fungi would decline and ultimately die.
When we look at tillage, one of the factors or one of the variables in tillage is depth. Where in the soil profile are these microbial communities located?
Yeah, so much of the action is in the top foot of soil, no matter what microorganisms you're thinking about in the grasslands and for most crop species. Some of the trees, there's a lot more fungi going deeper with those deeper roots, for sure. That's more of the ectomycorrhizal fungi. But a lot of the fungal biomass and the fungal action and that acquiring of phosphorus and trading for carbon is happening in the 0 to 10 centimeter range. So it's towards the soil surface.
Yeah, so 10 centimeters, 4 inches, so really close.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say the shallower the tillage, the better?
Yeah, and I try not to till my garden ever, even though I throw my Mycobloom trash, we'll get to Mycobloom later, into my garden. So I'm constantly inoculating it, but I try not to till, both because it also seems to release more weed seeds over time. It just seems like a challenge, all this tilling, to what end? And I don't know the exact number on the number of tons of soil that are blown in the wind across Kansas, but my car is covered in dust every day. And I'm sure you've heard of the Great Dust Bowl, right? This tillage, all this wind erosion is a massive problem.
Yeah, because a lot of the farmers we work with, they're growing annuals and they're terminating them. So it's not this crop has run its life, and as it starts to die off, the fungi sense that and they go, hey, I'm growing lettuce today. It's perfectly fine, but I'm harvesting it today. And it's just like, surprise, anybody in the soil, this plant is now gone. If you were to do that, so just mid-growth, just harvest the crop's gone. So those fungi are no longer getting that relationship, anything from that relationship, because the above surface is gone. and you went in and tilled there, you're probably doing some damage, right? Because it's still in that hyphae state and you're
In the
not.
hyphal stage. Yeah,
Yeah.
they make spores continuously, but they'll do the bulk of it when they're trying to senesce. Yeah.
How quickly does that period happen of spores like for senescing? So if a corn plant is dying, is it like, oh, I can detect it's dying and spores start happening over the course of days, or is it more like weeks or months?
Yeah, it happens pretty quickly. I would say weeks. So when we're growing our cultures, we kill our plants over about 2 weeks, and from it can go from hyphal stage there to just loaded with spores. So it can happen pretty quickly. These things can make spores.
Did you know if you're a farmer, you can get your low tunnels paid for by the NRCS? Through a recently launched government program, farmers can get between $4 and $5 per square foot in reimbursement towards a Quick Hoops low tunnel system. That's free money to help increase production on your farm. Learn more about Quick Hoops and the NRCS program at shop.moderngrower.co or using the link below.